morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark here. We're going to get started on our presentation of WMS Express this morning. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through a little overview of what the heck WMS Express is, talk a little bit about hardware and support, and then we're going to jump right into a demo to give you an overview of what the software looks like, and we're going to leave a bunch of time at the end there for questions and answers. Now, if you do have questions throughout the presentation or the demo, feel free to enter those in the question box in GoToWebinar, and there'll be somebody answering those questions as you enter them, and any that can't be answered during the session we'll bring up at the end. All right, so first thing, what the heck is WMS Express? You know, you said, hey, it's a free barcoding solution for Business Central. It's called WMS Express, and that's really what it is. It's meant for Business Central Cloud. So this is if you're running the Business Central Cloud version, you can run WMS Express. And what it does is it provides really the key capabilities that most people need when they're implementing a barcoding solution. And those are receiving, so bringing product into stock, picking or shipping, and doing inventory counts. So again, WMS Express adds barcoding to Business Central at no cost, right? And it performs all the basic capabilities that you need for a barcoding solution. And really, if you're in, light manufacturing or warehousing or retail, those sorts of things, that's a very good value proposition. I mean, barcoding adds a lot of value. If you can easily receive or pick or do your inventory counts through barcodes, that's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to improve your inventory accuracy, and that's going to save you a ton of money. All right. Now, a little more on this. It's available now. You can go to App Source, search for WMS Express or InsightWorks, and it'll come up, and you can see it's Get It Now. You can install it on your Business Central Cloud instance. It'll fire up. I'll walk you through a little bit of that setup in a bit, and you can start using it almost immediately. 1 or 2 points here. First, it's only available on the current version of Business Central. That's how it works. When an app goes onto the App Source, it's available for the current version of Business Central, which happens to be 16.2. If you're running version 16.1, which a lot of people are still sitting on 16.1, the system won't install. You'll get an error message saying it's not supported. You'll just have to go in and get your administrator to plan an upgrade to 16.2. That'll happen automatically, and then you'll have access for WMS Express. Or if you create a new sandbox environment, that'll pop up as 16.2, and you'll be able to install it. All right. Now, it's also only available in North America for the next couple of months, so we want to get it rolled out in our sort of native time zone. And once we're sure we're happy with how everything is working from a process perspective, we're going to roll it out worldwide, within a couple of months. Okay, so again, North America only, 16.2 for now, and Business Central Cloud. All right. Now, when you do install it, you've got 3 versions to choose from. You've got really, depending on how you've got Business Central set up, there's really 3 broad categories of warehouse configuration. One is the standard, and that's probably how a lot of you are set up. You've just got purchase orders and sales orders. You may or may not have bins enabled, and you just want to receive against a purchase order. You want to go out with a sales order and pick with a handheld to a sales order. That's the standard mode, right? That's the standard version. When you install, it'll ask you which version. You choose standard, and it'll work with your purchase orders and sales orders. If you're one step up from that, maybe you do have bins enabled and you're using inventory picks and inventory putaways, then you would use the basic warehouse. And now you're able to use it with that. And the final one, the warehouse, if you've got the warehouse documents like warehouse receipts, warehouse picks, warehouse putaways, those types of things turned on, you can use that. All right. Now, you can only install one of these versions at a time. So if you have 2 locations, maybe you have a warehouse and a retail store, you can only install one of these versions. You can use that same version with both locations. So both locations can be set up differently. So your store might not have bins turned on and your warehouse does, no problem. You would use whichever version and they'll work fine across those 2 locations, but you'll be restricted to the capabilities for each individual version. Okay, and you can switch versions if you want. You just basically run the install wizard again, and you can switch from one version to another if you want to change how you've configured Business Central. All right, now some related applications that may be of interest. So dynamic ship is a good one because what WMS Express does is gives you that basic access to barcoding within the facility. So I can go out, I can pick all the product, and then I can drop it off at shipping. And now I can use dynamic ship to actually package that product up, to go out, get the get the shipping labels, do rate shopping, all of those kinds of things. And that's pretty cheap, right? So now for a couple $100, I've got my whole barcoding solution in the warehouse, I've got my shipping integration, everything else, and it's a very low cost way of automating pretty much your entire facility. And dynamic ship isn't free, that's obviously a paid one. Advanced inventory count is another one, another add-on module that you can add if you like. And what that will do is just allow you to do better inventory counts when it comes to lot numbers and serial numbers. The count module that comes with WMS Express is our standard count, and that doesn't deal with lot numbers and serial numbers. If you go to advanced count, you can use lot numbers, serial numbers, all of those sorts of things with that. And then a few others here. The last three are all free tools for Business Central Cloud that you can install. So if you want to generate your own barcode labels, you can use the barcode generator to do that. We have a print node connector. So if you need to do cloud printing, like you want to hit the print button on the handheld device and have a report pop out on the label printer, you can use the print node connector to do that. And again, that's no cost. You still need a print node account, but the connector itself is no cost. And Doc Extender allows you to drag and drop products or documents into Business Central. So that's not really, directly related to any sort of warehouse management, but it can be handy, right? So I can drop copies of purchase orders in there, those sorts of things, and even drop images and things like that into the system, right? So those are some related apps that you may be interested in. Again, just go to App Source and search for InsightWorks, and you'll see that. Now, some usage scenarios. Is this right for you? Well, it will work with pretty much any environment out there. There are some limitations I'll get to in a sec, but a good example is, okay, I'm a full-blown warehouse. I'm a distribution center, and it's fairly complex environment. Will WMS Express work? It will. You can even turn on the advanced warehousing in Business Central, what we call the directive put away and pick, and you can use the system with that. So that's all the warehouse documents, everything else. If you're a smaller operation and you basically just have some bins turned on and you maybe want to do an inventory pick or something like that, no problem. You can use it with that as well. So more light warehousing. Retail is another good environment for it. So retail, maybe you're not doing any shipping or picking with the solution, but maybe you do want to receive transfer orders or purchase orders at the store, and you want to do your inventory counts at the store by scanning all the barcodes on the shelves, right? So a whole bunch of different environments that you can use this in, anything from a very complex environment down to, very simple, retail store or kiosk at the mall type of environment, right? Now, some limitations that come with the solution. So again, you have three usage scenarios. And what I mean by that is you've got receiving, picking or shipping, and inventory count. That's what the system does. So the basic requirements for a barcoding solution in your facility. You can currently have a maximum of 5 devices per company. So you can use, you can have as many devices in the company as you like. You could be running 15 devices, but you can only run 5 at a time. Okay, so it's a concurrent model. So if you have 5 locations and you're doing inventory counts with all of them, as long as you stagger those, 5 devices might be sufficient. We're going to look at some of these limitations as well based on feedback. We might bump that up, but I think 5 devices is a good starting point. There's no customization allowed. So WMS Express is really a scaled down version of our full-blown Warehouse Insight product that allows you to do almost anything you like. Customize the heck out of it, create new applications on the handhelds, all those sorts of things. With WMS Express, what you get out of the box is really what you have. There is some configuration you can do. There's lots of behaviors you can change and things like that, but you can't customize it. You can't add your own menu items. You can't change the columns. You can't change the applications, those sorts of things. And the last one here, you can't use it with that full-blown Warehouse Insight product. In other words, I can't buy, 2 licenses of Warehouse Insight and then use 5 free licenses of WMS Express in the stores. It's one or the other. You're either running WMS Express or you're running Warehouse Insight. Okay, so let's actually have a look at what that looks like. If you go to wmsexpress.com, it'll take you to this page here. And if we scroll down, it'll give you a lot of detail about it and some hardware options we'll get to in a second here. And you can play with fake barcode scan images. But down here, this table gives you all the details about what each version supports compared to what the full-blown Warehouse Insight supports. And a couple of key ones here. You'll see that pretty much everything has some form of receiving, some form of picking or shipping, and inventory count as well. The advanced inventory count is an add-on for everything, so you can add that if you like. The WMS Express does not allow you to do any license plating or tote picking. So if you do need to do palletization or tote picking or any of that sort of thing, you can't add that license plating module into WMS Express. For that, you would have to get the full-blown Warehouse Insight and add it to that. Okay, so this, if you're curious about what the various versions can do, you can come here and check it out. Okay, now on the hardware options, we do support Android and Windows. So if you're coming from a legacy system, or you have a bunch of existing Windows devices sitting in your facility, you can likely use those Windows devices with the system. And that's handy because now you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on new hardware to move out to Business Central Cloud and start using a barcoding solution. However, if you're starting from scratch, generally it's going to be an Android device. The Windows devices are kind of done, and everything is Android. Now, with WMS Express, we have the ability to order, or you have the ability to order the hardware directly from us. And when you do that, the devices will come preloaded with the software and a number of settings set up to make it really easy to deploy the solution. So the way that works, if we go back to the website here and you come in and you hit, hardware options, it'll take you to a page that gives you some, initial recommendations. So you can use any device you like. We've got, a few different makes and models here. If you want something fairly basic, like it's light warehousing or retail or something like that, one of these little Memoir ones is pretty good. You can get them with or without the pistol grip. They work really well. They're, reasonably rugged. They've got the built-in scanner. They're great little devices for a pretty good price. You can get them for about $600 in various models. So this one here with the pistol grip and the charger, wireless charger and all that kind of stuff, $750. You hit, buy now, and this thing shows up ready to go, and you scan a couple barcodes and you're off to the races. If you want something more rugged, like you're in an actual warehouse, like a rugged warehouse environment, this is the one we're currently recommending most of the time. It's got a lot of options. It's got a camera built in. You can get far range scanning, so you can scan to 50 feet, whole bunch of good stuff. This one here, this Memoir 10, this is actually the one I'll be doing the demo on. And this is a good device, nice big screen, comes with a pistol grip that you can slide on or off, no physical keypad, but generally works very well. So any of these options here you can look at, you can buy them online, you can look at, various models and that sort of thing, or go to, the full-blown site where you can dig through all of the options, okay? And again, when you buy that, it'll come preloaded, and you scan and away you go. All right, now you've got your software that you installed from AppSource, you've purchased the hardware, or you've used your phone. Maybe you want to install the software and just see what it works like, and you're using your personal cell phone. You can do that as well. Or you have bought the hardware. Now you need some support. So for the free version, the way you get support is you go to our knowledge base. So it's kv.dmsiworks.com. You look at Warehouse or WMS Express or the Warehouse Insight as well. You look at those articles, and that'll give you help. There's an FAQ on there that you can read to get more detail about licensing and all sorts of things. That's your primary area for support. The other option is you contact your partner, your Business Central partner. If they're one of our resellers, you can check our website for, if you hit the purchase button on our website, you can check that. If your partner is one of our resellers, they'll likely have, much better insight into how the system works and can likely help you better than a partner that doesn't work with us. If you need more help than that, you can actually contact us. There's a link on the knowledge base, or it's just our support email, support@dmsiworks.com. I'll point to that later. And you can contact us and do a paid support plan where you buy a block of hours up front, and we can help you with the deployment and any other questions you have. Okay. Now, let's see here, and let's actually take a look at that website. I didn't have it up here, but just so you know what it looks like, if you go to the knowledge base, you can come in here, go to the knowledge base. There's the forums. You can post any questions in the community forum as well. Our support people will monitor those and answer them periodically. But any articles and things like that, just come into WMS Express here, and you can go through all the setup guide and usage guide and everything else within this. Okay, so that's the knowledge base there. All right, so resources, again, you can contact us for more information about Warehouse Insight, the paid version if you want. If you need support, again, the knowledge base, or it's a paid support plan. If you contact support with general questions on WMS Express, we're actually just going to point you back to the knowledge base. And if you're looking for some of those related applications, you can search AppSource for InsightWorks or go to one of the dedicated websites for the advanced inventory count or the shipping or anything else. All right, with that, we're going to skip all the blah, blah, blah and jump right into the demo. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through and show you, what it's like. And of course, my Business Central timed out because I was talking way too much. So let me just log back into Business Central here. What I'm going to do is walk you through very quickly the setup process once you install WMS Express from AppSource. So once you've installed it, what you'll do is you'll go into assisted setup, right? And there'll be a wizard there for configuring WMS Express. And you click on that, and I've already run it once, so it says, do you want to run it again? I'm just going to say yes. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. And we run it. As soon as Business Central wakes up, you accept the terms and conditions or read the license agreement. You come in, and this is where you choose the version that you want to use. And again, check that grid on wmsexpress.com to figure out which version you want to try. And you can come back and rerun this wizard anytime and switch the versions just by rerunning this wizard. Then you'll come in, give it your basic information. And here you'll specify which location you want to use to configure this. So you do need a location set up, but it can be any location configuration that Business Central supports, right? So you'll specify your location and your initial login and everything else you want. And when you hit next, it's going to actually install the application, configure it, and it will generate a report for you. And that report looks like this. So this is just a PDF. It'll generate a report that looks very much like this, with some barcodes to scan if you have a device that doesn't have the application on it. So let's say you want to try it on your phone. You can scan this barcode or grab this URL on your phone, and it'll install the app on your phone. But if you do get the device pre-installed, all you have to do is come in, scan a configuration barcode, and scan the login barcode. And that's what I'll do right now. I'm going to grab my device, and I'm going to show you the screen from my device. So again, this is, the Memoir 10. And what it'll look like when you get this device, it'll look very much like this. You'll unpack the device out of the box, and it'll, have this fancy background and everything else, and it'll have the app installed. And all you'll do is you'll tap that app icon, you'll get it on the Wi-Fi, you'll start the app, and you'll get this screen. And this is saying, hey, scan your configuration barcode to begin, or you can go to manual. And all I'm going to do, I have a copy of this report without the mangled, I actually mangled these barcodes, but I have a copy of this report on my desk, and I'm just going to scan that step 2 barcode. So that's the first thing I do. I scan step 2 barcode, and now it says, hey, enter in your Windows credentials to log in, because we've set this up as a cloud thing using Windows credentials. And actually, that's a good point. You can use, for licensing, it's either a device license. You can talk to your partner about the pricing and the implications of that. You can use a device license if you have shared devices, or if you already have a Business Central login, you can use your existing Business Central login to log in here. Now, what we actually do is we'll print a badge. So here's a badge, a login badge, so you don't have to type in your username and your web access key and all that kind of stuff. I can just scan this badge to log in. And that's actually also what you get on the installation report. You get a little barcode you can scan here to log in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tap that remember me so I don't have to do it a second time. And then I'm going to scan the badge to log in. It puts all the details in there, and it logs me in, and that's it. I am now connected to Business Central. So again, from the time I got the device like this, I tap the icon to start the app, I scan 2 barcodes, and bang, I'm in Business Central and ready to start working. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now I'm going to jump back into Business Central for a second. So we went through that assisted setup. And well, actually, I lied. I promised I would show you what it works like on a phone. So let me actually do that. I'm actually going to, now the screen on this, the screen share on this is a little slower. But here, this is actually my personal cell phone. It's a Google Pixel, so it's about 4 or 5 years old or whatever it is. And it pops up and it recognizes, hey, this isn't a device, a scanner device. This is likely a phone. And it gives me the option to actually use the camera on the device. So if you install the app on your phone, you're going to get the same screen, but it's going to have this icon here. When you tap that, by default, it'll prompt you for the security prompt, the Android prompt that says, hey, do you want to let this app use the camera? And if you say yes, what it's going to do is it's going to pop up, and you can now see my screen through there, and there's the camera, and away we go. I'm just going to exit out of that, and we just got to wait a sec for screen share here. And after you've enabled the camera usage, you get this little icon. So every time I'm working in the app, I can move this little icon with my thumb. So it's always really handy for me to tap with my thumb and start that camera again. So anytime I need to scan, I can just tap that icon, and it's going to bring up the camera and let me scan. Okay, so that's what it will look like if you use your cell phone. Now, once I've got it loaded and everything, the application looks exactly the same as what I had on this scanner device. Now, as I said, we'll go back into Business Central here, and I'll talk about a couple of different things here. First of all, on the setup side. So this is all the configuration that you have with WMS Express. If you're used to Warehouse Insight, or if you've seen demos of Warehouse Insight, that's a bit more comprehensive. So if I go into Warehouse Insight, you notice there's a whole bunch more stuff I can do in Warehouse Insight. But all the key stuff in WMS Express is there. So if I need to change the behavior of the device, like how it works, I can open that up, and I can have different configurations for different locations or for different employees or whatever you like. I can have as many of these configurations as I like. And in there, I can set a whole bunch of stuff like the printers that I'm using, how I want to treat lot numbers and serial numbers, the views on the documents, whole bunch of stuff. So there's a ton of things that you can still configure. This is all the same configuration as the Big Brother Warehouse Insight. Lots of different things you can set up in here to change the way the system works, including, you can put your own logos and everything else on the screen if you like. The other thing I'll mention is you have the ability to change how the scan behaviors work. So if you want to use it in an environment that has no barcodes, you can do that. You'll notice it's got the scan required and it's set to never. That means in theory, I never actually ever have to scan a barcode. I can just select a line and enter a quantity. So if you have products that don't have barcodes, I can still use the system. So you don't necessarily have to go full barcoding. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can set up in the way it works when you're entering quantities or scanning barcodes. And then the last thing I'll mention on this is, for now, is the report selection. So all of the applications, for the most part, have a print button, and that print button will run whatever reports you have set up in this report selections. Now, some of these don't make sense for WMS Express, like output. We don't do production output or anything like that. But if you want to print the item label or bin label or all those sorts of things, you can set up either the default reports that come with WMS Express, or you can create your own reports and actually print reports or labels or whatever directly from the handheld device. Okay. All right. Now with that, let's actually see what WMS Express looks like. I'm going to bring that up here. And we've got, in this case, I'm actually set up on the warehouse version. So what I get is I get the standard count, which everybody has. I get receiving, I get putaways, and I get picks. So again, what this allows me to do is receive product and put it away in the warehouse. And then also lets me pick that product for shipping. So in the case of warehouse, I actually pick it, I drop it off at the shipping area, and then somebody in shipping is going to take over and ship it out the door. And that's, again, where dynamic ship might come into play. So now on the handhelds, I do all my picking with barcode scanning, I drop it off, somebody at the shipping counter packages it up, gets the rates, gets the labels, all of those sorts of things through dynamic ship, and it goes out the door. And again, dynamic ship isn't a lot of money. With this coupled with dynamic ship for a couple $100 a month is a heck of a deal. Anyway, let me walk you through how some of this works. Now, by the way, if I had configured this to be standard instead of warehouse, I'd see receiving, shipping, and count. I'd see those three apps, and that's it, and so on and so forth. This more button here, I'll just mention real quick. If I tap that, all that's going to do is give you some information, some contact information, and from here, I can visit the website or launch your email app on Android to actually, contact us. So that more button is just for some additional help guidance. Now I'm going to jump into receiving here. And the way it works is when I tap on receiving, and by the way, the first time you tap this, it takes a second because it's actually loading the application from within Business Central. If I go back into receiving, you'll see it's pretty much instant, right? I'm real time with Business Central Cloud here. It's loading it up and I'm good to go. Now what it's doing is it's showing me all the purchase orders in the system that I can receive. And I can, type in a filter, or I can scan an item. Maybe I've got 3 pallets sitting in front of me. I grab one of the boxes off the pallet, I scan the barcode. It'll filter this list to the purchase order that has that item on it, or the purchase orders. If I want to see more information, maybe I want to see the vendor name or something like that in here, I can tap this, and what it will do is allow me to choose columns, and I can come in and make additional fields visible. And by the way, that little circle you see on the screen, that's my finger touching the screen. So I could make vendor name visible as an example, right? I could make any of these fields available in that list. Now, compared to the full Warehouse Insight, this is what you're stuck with. I shouldn't say stuck with. This is what you have available to you when you're doing the configuration on the handheld device. In Warehouse Insight, I could come in here and add whatever field I want, even if it's not in this list. Okay. But anyway, we can change the columns, you can change sorting, you can do all sorts of fun stuff. In my case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to choose purchase order, 106033 here. So I'm going to grab that. I just double tapped it, but you can also tap the little menu there to hit choose. And now I can come in and actually scan the product that I want to receive. And the way that works, if you haven't seen it before, all I do is I grab something off the box and I'm going to scan the barcode. So in this case, let's say I'm going to scan the barcode for this LS150. I don't have to know what I'm scanning. I just scan the barcode. The system is going to, find it in the list. It can optionally even show me a picture of that item, and then it's going to prompt me for the quantity. Now, in the full-blown Warehouse Insight, you can extend this quantity. You can have whatever additional fields you want. In this case, it's just going to prompt me for the quantity, and I'm going to enter that, hit OK, and it's now updated Business Central with this quantity on the purchase order or warehouse receipt if you're using that, and it shows me the remaining quantity that I need to receive. And it's as simple as that. Scan a barcode, optionally enter a quantity, because with those scan behaviors I talked about earlier, you don't even have to enter the quantity if you set it up that way. And I'm done. That's how I do receiving. Now, for lot numbers and serial numbers, we have that capability as well. If I scan a barcode that happens to have the lot number and or serial number in it, it'll bring that lot number into the interface automatically. If the barcode didn't have the lot number in it, it would highlight this field. I could either enter a lot number, scan a secondary barcode for the lot number, or have Business Central generate that lot number for me. So it's pretty simple. So we have the full lot number and serial number capability throughout the system, except for that standard count. The standard count doesn't do lot numbers and serial numbers. For that, you'd want to look at the advanced count module. But that's it for receiving. Scan barcode, optionally enter quantity, and I'm done. If you have bins turned on and you're receiving against a purchase order or an inventory put away, the bin column would be visible here, and you'd also indicate the bin that you're receiving to. Now, when I'm done, I can come in here and hit post, and that'll actually post that receipt in Business Central. I never have to go into the Business Central client to do anything. I can do it all from here. That print button, as I mentioned before, I have the ability to print out a label. Maybe when I choose, I come in here and I say, you know what, this last one, vendor didn't put any labels on the boxes for me. So I'm going to choose that line, go in here, hit print, and it'll print the item label for me, right? So you can create a custom label report if you like, using our barcode generator tool if you want, and print out that label, and away you go. We do have, a very basic sample item label, and I am going to show you this real quick, just because it's worth seeing. So this just prints on a 2x3 label, and of course I probably typed in a bad item number there, so let me just do a different item. Okay, so it's printing a bunch of labels here, but this just prints on a 2x3 standard label, and the type of label that I'm printing is what we call a data matrix barcode. And I'm not sure why it's taking so long, probably the first time I've run it in forever. And that data matrix barcode is this small square barcode here. So that's about a 1/2 inch square. and you can fit 40 characters worth of text in there. So if you do want to put a lot number, an expiration date, an item number in the same barcode, you can do that. Okay, so again, from the handheld, I can hit print, and I can spit out a label like this and slap it on the box, and away I go. And by the way, if you make these barcodes about 1.5 inches square, I can scan that from 50 feet away with the right scanner. So if you want to do pallet labeling and things like that, you can do that as well. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit on the printing of the barcodes and those sorts of things. The last thing I'll mention here is, and it's not visible on this menu, but you also have the ability to take a picture anywhere in the system. And what that allows you to do is, if I'm receiving something and the product is damaged, I can take a photo of that and I can set that up to upload into Business Central. Now, I believe the first version of WMS Express that we put online doesn't have that take picture menu visible, but that'll be coming, just like Warehouse Insight has that capability. And you'll be able to take a photo of signed paperwork or damaged product, or if you're shipping things, you can take pictures of all the trucks before they leave to make sure they left in good shape, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so that's the basics of receiving. Scan a barcode, optionally enter a quantity. You can set it up so that when you leave the screen, it automatically posts, or I can come in here, manually tap the menu, hit post, and it'll post that receipt in Business Central. All right. So what I'll do now is just, I'll skip, well, actually, no, I'll skip putaways. Putaways are fairly straightforward, right? We'll go into picks because it's basically the same process. I scan a bin, scan an item. Now on this particular one, I've got warehouse picks turned on. What this will normally do is, if you don't have warehouse picks turned on, this will list all my sales orders and that sort of thing in here, and transfer orders that I can pick against. I've got the picks turned on, so I can just come in here, choose one of these pick documents. Actually, I don't think I want this pick document. I'm going to go grab the other pick document. And just like on the receiving thing, if you wanted more detail about what these pick documents are, I can make all of these other fields visible in here, right? So if I want the customer name or any of that sort of thing, I could make that visible. The typical scenario, though, is, people will generally print a paper copy of the pick ticket. They'll add a barcode to that pick ticket, and then I can scan that barcode and it'll launch the appropriate pick that I want to work on. So I'm actually going to choose pick number 5 here, and when it opens up, it shows me all the bins that I'm supposed to pick from and each item that I'm supposed to pick from each bin. And you can see I've already picked a few of these guys, and you have the ability to, hide any lines that I no longer need to pick. So that can be set by default. But if I do that, it shows me only the outstanding lines I have left to pick. And here, all I have to do is indicate the bin that I'm picking from and the item that I'm picking out of each bin. If you don't have bins turned on, you just wouldn't see this bin column, and you just scan the item that you're picking. Or if you do have bins turned on, but you don't care if people scan the bin or not, you can turn off the option to force them to scan the bin. In my case, I do want them to scan the bin because, I want to validate that they're picking things properly. And what I'm going to do, and you don't have to scan in the order that the Business Central has told me. I could start picking at the last line if I prefer. But I'm going to start picking, from that bin 0201. So I scan that, it registers that bin code, and then I simply scan the item that I'm picking. Maybe I'll do that LS150 first. So I scan the LS150, enter the quantity I picked for that, and I'm done. And I've now updated Business Central automatically with that value, and I'm good to go. So it's as simple as that. Scan bin, scan item, enter quantity. And that's all there is to picking. Shipping works the same way. So if you don't have the warehouse picks turned on and you're using an inventory pick or just picking to a sales order, I can do the same thing. I optionally scan the bin, I scan the item, I optionally enter the quantity. And when I'm done, I can go in there, hit post, and that will actually post that pick or that shipment within Business Central. Okay, so again, I never have to go into Business Central to do any of that type of work. The last thing we'll talk about before we jump into questions, I have a feeling there's a whole ton of questions coming through. The last thing I'll show you is the standard count capability. So again, what this does, this allows me to go into the physical inventory journal. So it just allows me to scan into that physical inventory journal. And there's really 2 ways we can work with that. One is, if you want to do cycle counting and you want to use all the capabilities within Business Central to generate your cycle count, so the next count period and the physical inventory count period codes and all that kind of stuff, you can go out and you can generate the list of items that you want somebody to go out and scan and count. And when they choose their batch, so you can name it by person or whatever you like, when you choose the batch, it'll load up all the items that they actually need to count. Another way of counting is the way I've done it here. I didn't list anything that somebody needs to count. I just tossed a scanner to somebody and said, go count that side of the warehouse, or it's a full physical count at the end of the year. And I'm telling people, just go out and scan everything you find in the facility. So again, what I do is, and you've already been trained on this, if I said, okay, what am I supposed to do here, and toss you a scanner and tell you to do a count, you'd already know what to do. You scan the bin, you scan the item, and you enter the quantity. So I walk up to the bin, I scan the bin, I scan the item I want to count in that bin, I enter the quantity that I'm counting, and I'm done. And then I scan the next bin, or then, keep the same bin or whatever else. Scan the bin, scan the item, enter the quantity, and I'm good to go. And what this is doing is it's building up that physical inventory journal in Business Central that I can go in, I can print the test report, I can post it, I could export it to Excel for reconciliation, all that kind of stuff. And I can do all of that, simply by scanning from the handheld device. Okay. So those are the two mechanisms we have for counting. You can either generate the count ahead of time, like a cycle count or full physical, send people out with a list of items, and it'll show up exactly like this. It'll list all the bins and the items they need to count. And they scan the bin, they scan the item, they enter the quantity, and that's it. Or you can send them out with a blank sheet, and they can scan everything, and then we go into Business Central to reconcile. Now, if you do have a lot of inventory items and you need auditing and you need better reconciliation tools and all those sorts of things, that advanced inventory count module is almost a must-have for everybody, right? Even people running the full warehouse insight normally should get that add-on. But if you don't need that capability, like if you're in a retail store and you want to count, you don't have bins or anything set up, you just want to go out and scan all your items that are in the store, great. This thing works awesome, right? Okay. That's all I'm going to go through initially on the demo. Let's see, Brian, any questions that are outstanding that you need me to answer right now?
Well, I actually got through quite a few of them. There was one question, someone was asked about amalgamating financial data with WMS Express. That was the entire question. I don't know if you can interpret what they meant by that.
No, not off the top of my head. I mean, everything that we're doing here, of course, is going to Business Central. So any inventory transaction, like any receipt or shipment or inventory count or anything I'm doing, is live with Business Central. There's no second database or anything else, right? You install this in Business Central and you're done. So those transactions are live with Business Central. So any financial impact of receiving items is standard Business Central. It's just as if I went into Business Central and did the receipt inside Business Central.
Okay, so yeah, there are more questions coming through here, Mark. I've sorted through them. I'll ask them if you can answer them. Someone is just asking about serial numbers for the standard version of WMS Express. Sorry, for standard count. Yeah, is that available?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch
serial numbers, being able to track serial numbers for standard count.
Yeah, serial numbers and standard count does not work, right? So if you need to capture serial numbers during your count, you will need the advanced count module, and that's just an add-on module that you plug in, and then you can do all the serial number reconciliation and auditing and recounts. Like it's that advanced inventory count is a ton of tools beyond what standard Business Central offers, beyond just being able to scan from a handheld device. There's a question on on-prem. It is not available on-prem at all at this time, and likely won't be for the foreseeable future at any rate. So no on-prem, whether LS retail or not. This will work with LS Express or any of the cloud retail solutions as well. But we do have our own retail solution called Counter Sales, which is kind of like an industrial point of sale solution as well, just to plug that. Another question for on-prem. Nope, no on-prem, unfortunately. Can you do multiple orders in one pick? Yes. So it uses the same functionality as Business Central provides. So if you turn on the warehouse picks, you can combine multiple orders into a single pick. You can do batch picking, you can do wave picking, you can do all the sorts of things that Business Central supports. You can handle that on the handheld device. The one thing it doesn't do, though, that Warehouse Insight does, is it doesn't do tote picking. So when you're picking those multiple orders on the same pick, it doesn't allow you to segregate those orders into individual totes through the system. Okay, but other than that, yeah, it works fine. Let's see. Yeah, only BC. You can run it on a tablet as well. So there's a question if you can run on a tablet. Yeah, I showed you on my phone, but that could have been a tablet as well if you prefer. Has to be Android 5 or newer, which I don't think nowadays is much of a problem. But sure, you can run it. It is also going to be on Google Play Store. Like I said, when you do that install, it does give you a barcode you can scan here to download it off our infrastructure. But it will be available on Google Play at some point soon as well. Okay, let's see. This is a long question. Okay, well, that somebody says we get a 10 out of 10, which is awesome. Thank you very much. Now, this question: how do I correct if I make a mistake? Well, it depends. There's two places you could make the mistake, or two points you could make a mistake. One is, let's say I scanned this barcode and I entered a quantity of 10 here, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't supposed to be 10, that was supposed to be 1. Well, all I have to do is tap on that line, or I can tap the menu here and hit change quantity. Now, if you have a device with a physical keypad, it's kind of nice because you never have to touch the screen, right? So if you get a CK65, you're not seeing the Android keyboard pop up all the time. You've got a physical keypad you can type on, and I could just hit enter on the physical keypad. But here I can either double tap that line or tap this menu. And now I can say, you know what, it was only supposed to be 1, not 10, and I can make that change right here. Now, if I've already come in and posted this, then you're getting into the Business Central where you have to undo receipt and do all the stuff inside Business Central to fix it. But prior to posting it, I can make whatever changes I want just by choosing the line, tapping it, and then entering the quantity that I want to adjust. And that's also, again, how I can go in. If a vendor doesn't provide a barcode, all I did there was I just tapped on that line without scanning anything, and I was able to enter the quantity for it. Okay. And if you want to prevent that, you can go into that scan behaviors and prevent people from doing what I just did, and you're forcing them to then scan a barcode. Does it work offline? It does not work offline. So Warehouse Insight has an offline mode that you can use. WMS Express is online only. So it's direct communication with Business Central online. So you do need to be connected at all times. It's a question: do you have the function to pick first and scan to double check after the order is done? You do. If you turn on the warehouse picks, like I have turned on here, what that does, and that's a Business Central setting, by the way, you turn on warehouse shipments and warehouse picks, or it's called require shipment, require pick in your location settings. And that gives you a two-step pick ship process, where I pick everything, I drop it off at shipping, and then at shipping, they can scan again to validate that the pick was actually correct. With WMS Express, the way you have to do that secondary scan is to get dynamic ship, because that lets you rescan everything while you're packaging. And then as a bonus, it's going to give you your bill of lading or your UPS or FedEx or whatever labels you like. It'll do your rate shopping. It'll do all those good things. It's your full shipping integration, and you get that secondary scan validation. Question about how it compares with Shop Floor Insight. Well, Shop Floor Insight is really more for production management. So that's more of a labor tracking or activity tracking tool. If you meant Warehouse Insight, which is the full-blown version, again, you can go in and check out, sort of this table here on wmsexpress.com, and it'll sort of give you a breakdown of what Warehouse Insight has that WMS Express does not. And we have lots of recorded online demos of Warehouse Insight that you can go and look at online and sort of see what the differences are between two systems. The big difference, of course, is Warehouse Insight just has a ton more applications, right? Okay, when you do printing from device, which entity executes the printing? Yeah, so it's Business Central that does the printing. But the way that's done, if you're doing cloud printing, you need a cloud print service like PrintNode. So that's the one we support natively. So if you have, you need to set up a PrintNode account, but if you download the PrintNode connector from AppSource, you can go in and there's a little video there. You can set that up, And then print node is actually the thing that's going to print the report out to whatever local printer you have. Okay, so when I hit print on the handheld device, it's going to go to one of the printers that has been set up via the print node system. Okay, so oops, I hit escape on the wrong thing, but that's okay. So that's how we do it. We use print node to do that cloud printing. It'd be nice one day Microsoft will have its own cloud printing capability, but until then, print node is the one we're currently supporting. There's a question, how do you delete a license plate? No license plates in WMS Express. So in Warehouse Insight, that's a question you can actually contact our support guys if that's actually a real support question, but there are no license plates in WMS Express. You need Warehouse Insight for that. Batch managed with older batch shipping for scan. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what that question is, but we did talk about batch picking where you have multiple orders per pick that you can stage up at shipping and then ship them out in all at once. That may be the question there. There's another question on license plating. So again, that doesn't really apply to WMS Express. Oh, good question. If you scan the same barcode twice, what happens? That's great. So let's go back into receiving. I didn't show this, and I only show this in the Warehouse Insight demos. But let's say I'm receiving, and this guy here, I scanned and I entered a quantity of 25, and there's 15 left, and then I get to the third or fourth pallet in that shipment, and I find more of those LS Man 10s. So all I have to do, again, I don't have to know what barcode I'm scanning. I just scan the barcode, finds it, and now it prompts me for whatever quantity I just found. Let's say I found 5 more on that. Oops. 5 more on that last pallet. So it just keeps adding to that quantity I've received so far and reducing the outstanding quantity. So you don't have to unpack everything and put each item into its own little separate pile and count it up. As you're pulling the stuff off the pallets or out of boxes, you just scan the barcode and enter the quantity. And if you don't want to enter the quantity, like let's say, you're always getting individual boxes, you can set it up so that I can just scan the barcode and it'll just increase the quantity down here by 1 and never even show me that quantity dialog. So as I'm unpacking the box, it just go beep, 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 beep all the way through, and it'll just keep, updating the quantity one at a time. Okay. Yeah, so if you have different bin locations for a single item, Business Central is going to decide which bin to pick from. So it kind of depends on your configuration within Business Central, but generally speaking, yes, it will send you to the bin that has inventory in it. Okay, and again, that's standard Business Central capability. You can test that when you generate the pick. That pick that you generate in Business Central, either through pick worksheet or directly from the sales order, that's going to be what we display on the handheld device. RFID, so we have a question, do we support RFID? We have done so with Warehouse Insight. It's always a bit of a custom thing depending on how people want to use RFID, and every device that you run really has their own RFID API. So it's generally a custom endeavor to support RFID, but yes, it is possible. Generally inventory counts and sometimes shipping, those are usually the best use cases for RFID. All right. That looks like the end of the questions, unless I missed anything, Brian. Is there anything?
Well, there was only one that I think, I was typing, so maybe you did answer it, but someone was asking about taking a photo of damage and where that would be uploaded into Business Central.
Yeah, so that will be attached to the document that you're working on. Now, again, the current version of WMS Express, I kind of lied to you because the current version of WMS Express does not support that image capture. That is, however, something that will be added in a later version. We are going to, extend the functionality of WMS Express to include that image capture. But if you're using Warehouse Insight, which does support that, what it'll do is it'll upload that image into whatever document you're working on. So you can set up some rules on how that's stored. And that will also allow you, when the next release of Doc Extender is out, will allow you to store it either on SharePoint or as an attachment, inside Business Central on that record. Okay. Okay.
There was just a couple more questions that come through there. I don't know if you saw it. Someone was just asking if they have a full Business Central, if they have a Business Central full user license, do they need a device license for the handheld?
No. So again, there's two ways you can access the system. Actually, three. The first way is with the user license. So you would come in just like when you run the setup. You go in and you specify your user ID. Now, to actually connect, you don't use your normal password. You use what we call the web services access key. So you would go in there and you can copy and paste that out of your user card, and it generates that badge that you can scan, and it's a secure badge, reasonably secure, to log in. So that's generally how you do it if you're doing Windows, and that's using your user ID, right? So on mine, I'm actually logged in as my Windows ID, this WHI demo. The other way to do it is with the device license. And the device license, you can do the same way. Each individual user can have their own, be part of that device license pool, and they would have, a Business Central user set up. That's a bit of a pain because you have to get IT involved and your Business Central people involved to add new users into the system. But you can do that as well, and that we use a device license. And the third way is you use a device license, and what happens is you log in first with a device license, and then you use what we call an InsightWorks user to actually log in to get access to the functionality. And what that allows you to do is come in and basically have your warehouse supervisors or whatever control the people's access to the system. And in the case like that, you can create a user ID with Joe and a password of 123 if you like. So it makes it a little easier to manage users, especially if you have staff turnover in the warehouse or whatever. You can control that without having to create a Business Central user that's in a device license pool and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways we can get in. I'm just logged in here as Windows, but you can use the InsightWorks user as well to get in. Okay, question on print note support for a standalone server. I'm not sure. I don't think we've ever tried that with standalone print node. It works with cloud for sure, or local client, but I'm not sure about the standalone server. We'd have to test, I guess. Okay.
You got them all. I think that's it.
I think I got them all. That's good timing. That leaves us 5 minutes unless somebody wants to squeeze in a few more questions. Again, if you do have questions, I usually say give us a shout and we'll answer them, but don't give us a shout. Go to the knowledge base and get your answers there. If you don't see the answer there, put a question in the community forum. Again, initially, our support people will monitor that periodically, but ideally we'll have people in the community and our partners answering some of those questions for you down the road. Question about info we can transfer to Excel. Well, really nothing from the handheld device, but from within Business Central, you can transfer anything you like to Excel, depending on the page that you're on. I will mention that in the full version of Warehouse Insight, where you can actually modify the menus, you can actually launch Android applications. Like, so for example, if you're in trouble in the warehouse, you could have a menu item that actually launches Teams in walkie-talkie mode, or starts a chat in Teams, or whatever you want. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do there, but in WMS Express, the menus are fixed. Okay, good. All right. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. I hope it was informative, and please let us know what you think at any time. It never hurts to contact us or go to the knowledge base or forum to make any comments that you have. Great. With that, again, thanks everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and hopefully we'll be talking again soon.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content.